Hey, this is For Fact and Fiction, and today I'm going to read to you Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Match Girl. So, if you're a fan of storytelling, either be fact or fiction, then you came to the right place because that is what I do. So please like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. Also, if you have Instagram, please check me out on Instagram at For Fact and Fiction and follow. So, let us begin. It was a terrible cold and nearly dark on the last evening of the old year, and the snow was falling fast. In the cold and the darkness, a poor little girl with bare head and naked feet roamed the streets. It is true that she had a pair of slippers when she left home, but they were not much of use. They were very large, so large indeed that they had belonged to her mother, and the poor little girl had lost them in running across the street to avoid two carriages that were rolling at a terrible rate. One of the slippers she could not find. A boy seized upon the other and ran off with it, saying that he could use it as a cradle when he had children of his own. So the little girl went on with her little naked feet, which were quite red and blue with the cold. In an old apron she carried a number of matches, and had a bundle of them in her hands. No one had bought anything of her the whole day, nor had anyone given her even a penny. Shivering with the cold and hunger, she crept along. Poor little child, she looked like a picture of misery. The snowflakes fell on her long fair hair, which hung in curls on her shoulders, while she regarded them not. Lights were shining from every window, and there was a savory smell of roast goose, for it was New Year's Eve. Yes, she remembered that. In a corner between two houses, one of which projected beyond the other, she sank down and huddled herself together. She had drawn her little feet under her, but she could not keep off the cold, and she dared not to go home, for she sold no matches and could not take home even a penny of money. Her father would certainly punish her. Besides, it was almost as cold at home as it was here, for they only had one roof to cover them, through which the wind howled, although the largest holes had been stopped up with straw and rags. Her little hands were almost frozen with the cold. Perhaps a burning match might be some good use, if she could draw it from the bundle and strike against the wall, just to warm her little fingers. She drew one out. How it sputtered as it burned. It gave a warm bright light like a little candle as she held her hand over it. It was really wonderful light. It seemed to the little girl that she was sitting by a large iron stove with polished brass feet and a brass ornament. How the fire burned! It seemed so beautifully warm that the child stretched out her feet as to warm them. But lo, the flame of the match went out, and the stove vanished, and she only had the remains of the half-burned match in her hand. She rubbed another match on the wall. It burst into a flame, and where its light fell upon the wall, it became as transparent as a veil, and she could see into the room. The table was covered with a snowy white tablecloth, on which stood a splendid dinner service, and a steaming roast goose stuffed with apples and dry plums. And what was still more wonderful, the goose jumped down from the dish and waddled across the floor with a knife and fork in its breast to the little girl. Then the match went out, and there remained nothing but the thick, damp, cold wall before her. She struck another match, and then she found herself sitting under a beautiful Christmas tree. It was larger and more beautifully decorated than the one she had seen through the glass door at the rich merchant's. Thousands of tapers are burning upon the green branches, and colored pictures, like those she had seen in show windows, looked down upon it all. The little one stretched out her hand towards them, and the match went out. The Christmas lights rose higher and higher till they looked to her like stars in the sky. Then she saw a star fall, leaving behind a bright streak of fire. Someone is dying, thought the little girl, for her old grandmother, the only one who ever loved her, who was now dead, had told her when the star falls, a soul was going up to God. She again rubbed the match on the wall, and the light shone around her. In the brightness stood her old grandmother, clear and shining, yet mild and loving in her appearance. "Grandmother," cried the little one, "oh, take me with you. I know you will go away when the match burns out. You will vanish like the warm stove, the roast goose, and the large, glorious Christmas tree." And she made haste to light the whole bundle of matches, for she wished to keep her grandmother there. And the matches glowed with a light that was brighter than a noonday, and her grandmother never appeared so large or so beautiful. She took the little girl in her arms. They both flew upwards in brightness and joy far above the earth, where there was neither cold, no hunger, no pain, for they were with God. In the dawn of the morning, there lay the poor little one, with pale cheeks and a smiling mouth, leaning against a wall. She had been frozen to death on the last evening of the year, and the New Year's sun rose and shone upon the little corpse. The child still sat in the stiffness of death, holding the matches in her hand, one bundle of which was burned. "She tried to warm herself," said some. No one imagined what beautiful things she had seen, nor into what glory she had entered with her grandmother on New Year's Day. Alright, that concludes this reading of The Little Match Girl by Hans Christian Andersen. If you're a fan of storytelling, then please subscribe and follow my YouTube channel by turning all notifications. Thank you for watching. See you in another video.